At 3:04 a.m., the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the narrowest point between Yemen and Djibouti, 18 miles of water that connects the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden. 18 miles. That is all that stand between the global economy and collapse. At 3:04 a.m., the USS Gravely and /Spy 1D radar picks up movement that has no business being on the water at this hour. Not one contact, not two. 14 fast attack boats emerging simultaneously from the Yemeni coastline, spreading across the strait in a formation that every surface warfare officer recognizes immediately. They're not fishing. At the same moment, the E-2D Hawkeye surveillance aircraft orbiting at altitude above the strait detects 3 mobile missile launchers on the Yemeni highlands overlooking the water. Their radar emissions are active, their targeting systems are hot, and their launch coordinates are already locked, not on a warship, on the strait itself, on the 18 miles of open water that 11 commercial vessels are currently transiting, completely unaware that the Houthis just gave the order to close the gate. The USS Gravely's commanding officer is on the bridge in 60 seconds. He already knows what this is. The Houthis are not attacking a ship tonight. They are attacking the world. And somewhere behind the darkness of the Yemeni coastline, a plan 3 months in the making is already in motion. But first, go back 47 minutes before those 14 contacts hit the radar screen. Because what is about to happen in the next 22 minutes was not decided tonight. It was decided the moment the Houthis made the catastrophic miscalculation of thinking 18 miles of water was theirs to close. The USS Dwight D. Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group is holding position 80 miles south of the strait. It has been there for 11 days. It is not there by accident. To understand why the U.S. Navy has a carrier strike group parked outside the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, you need to understand what that strait actually is. Not on a map, but in the mechanics of how the modern world feeds itself, fuels itself, and keeps its lights on. Every day, approximately 4 million barrels of oil pass through the Bab el-Mandeb. Every day, container ships carrying electronics, food, medicine, and manufactured goods from Asia to Europe transit those 18 miles. The strait is the only connection between the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, which means it is the only connection between the Suez Canal and the Indian Ocean. Close the Bab el-Mandeb, and you close the Suez Canal to traffic from the east. You add 10 to 14 days to every shipping route between Asia and Europe. You spike global fuel prices within 72 hours. You create pharmaceutical shortages in European hospitals within 3 weeks. The Houthis do not need to sink a carrier to change the world tonight. They need to make 18 miles of water too dangerous to transit. That is a far easier problem. And it is the problem they have spent 3 months building a plan to execute. The plan has 3 components. First, the fast attack boats positioned to physically threaten any vessel attempting to transit. Second, the mobile missile launchers on the highlands, positioned to strike anything that tries to clear the boats. Third, a wave of sea-skimming anti-ship missiles pre-positioned on truck-mounted launchers further inland, designed to fire the moment the U.S. Navy's attention is focused on the fast boats in the water. It is a layered trap. The boats are the bait. The missiles are the kill shot. The USS Gravely has been watching them build it for 11 days. 2 minutes after first contact, the USS Gravely is already moving at 30 knots. The Gravely is positioning itself between the 14 fast attack boats and the 11 commercial vessels currently in the strait. This is not a reactive decision made under pressure. It is a pre-planned maneuver that the crew rehearsed 4 times in the 11 days they spent watching the Houthis position their assets. The commanding officer knew this night was coming. He built a response plan for it before it arrived. The in/spy 1D radar system that detected the fast attack boats is the same radar system that has been passively cataloging every Houthi emission in the region for 11 days. Every time a Houthi missile launcher powered up its targeting radar to run a test sequence, the Gravely recorded the frequency, the pulse pattern, and the location. Every time a fast attack boat ran its engine at night, the acoustic signature went into the threat library. The Gravely does not see 14 unknown contacts on its radar screen tonight. It sees 14 contacts it already knows everything about. This is the part of modern naval warfare that the Houthis consistently underestimate. The in/spy 1D radar is not just a detection system. It is a collection system. It learns. Every emission an adversary puts into the electromagnetic spectrum is data that the Aegis combat system absorbs, categorizes, and files for exactly the moment when that emission appears again in a threat context. The 14 fast attack boats are running the same engines, on the same frequencies, that the Gravely logged on 9 previous nights when they ran training exercises off the Yemeni coast. The Gravely already knows where they're going. It already knows how fast they will get there, and it has already calculated the intercept geometry. Bridge-to-bridge hailing goes out on international maritime frequencies. In English, in Arabic, no response. The commanding officer authorizes weapons free on positively identified threats. 5 minutes in, the missile launchers on the Yemeni highlands are the threat the fast attack boats were designed to distract attention from. They're not a surprise. The E-2D Hawkeye, the Navy's airborne early warning and command aircraft, has been orbiting above the Strait at 25,000 feet since 1:30 a.m. The Hawkeye is not a combat aircraft. It carries no weapons. What it carries is the APS 145 radar system, one of the most capable airborne surveillance radars ever built, capable of tracking hundreds of targets simultaneously across an area the size of a small country. At 25,000 feet above the Bab el-Mandeb, the Hawkeye sees the entire strait, both coastlines, and 100 miles of approach in every direction. The 3 mobile missile launchers have been on the Hawkeye's radar since they left their staging area at 1:47 a.m. Their route up the Highland roads was tracked in real time. Their final firing positions were logged at 2:31 a.m., 33 minutes before the fast attack boats hit the water. At 3:09 a.m., 2 A-18E Super Hornets from the Eisenhower's Air Wing, which have been holding at altitude 50 miles south of the Strait since 2:45 a.m., received targeting coordinates directly from the Hawkeye's data link. They do not need to search for the launchers. The Hawkeye has already done that. They need only to close the distance and release. Each F-A-18E carries 2 AGM-154 joint standoff weapons, glide munitions that release from altitude and fly themselves to a GPS-guided impact point without any further input from the aircraft. The jets never have to enter the engagement envelope of the Houthi surface-to-air missiles defending the launcher positions. They release from outside lethal range, and the weapons do the rest. The first AGM-154 impacts the lead missile launcher at 3:11 a.m. and 43 seconds. The secondary explosion, the launcher's own missiles cooking off in the fireball, sends a column of flame 300 feet into the Highland air that is visible from the deck of the Gravely 18 miles away. The second and third launchers are gone 30 seconds later. The Highland problem is solved in under 2 minutes. The fast attack boats in the water have no idea. 8 minutes into the engagement, the fast attack boats are still closing. They have lost communication with the missile launcher teams on the Highlands. They do not know why. Their plan assumed the launchers would still be operational. Their plan assumed that the U.S. Navy would be reacting to the missile threat, not already past it. Their plan is 8 minutes behind reality. The USS Gravely's MH-60 or Seahawk helicopter launched at 3:05 a.m., 60 seconds after first contact, and has been running a low-altitude perimeter pattern between the destroyer and the approaching fast attack boats. The MH-60 is not a transport helicopter. It is a naval combat system that happens to have rotors. It carries the APS 153 multimode radar, the ALQ-210 electronic support system, and AGM-114 Hellfire missiles, the same precision strike weapon used by Apache attack helicopters, adapted for naval surface engagement. At 3 miles, the Seahawk begins its engagement sequence. The Hellfire is a laser-guided missile with a shaped charge warhead designed to punch through armored targets. Against a fiberglass fast attack boat, it is not a surgical instrument. It is overwhelming force applied to a target that has no meaningful defense against it. The first Hellfire leaves the Seahawk's rail at 3:13 a.m. The boat it targets has a crew of 4. They see the flash of a launch. They have approximately 3 seconds before impact. There is nothing they can do with 3 seconds. 4 boats are gone before the remaining 10 close to within 2 miles of the Gravely. At 2 miles, the Gravely's 5-inch Mk-45 deck gun takes over. The Mk-45 is a naval artillery system that fires a 70-pound projectile at targets up to 13 miles away, with a rate of fire of 16 to 20 rounds per minute. It was designed primarily for shore bombardment and surface warfare at range, but at 2 miles against fast attack boats, it is not being asked to perform at the edge of its capability. It is being asked to do something it could do in its sleep. The gun crew does not aim individually at each boat. The Aegis fire control system handles targeting automatically, slewing the gun mount to each designated contact in sequence, calculating lead angles for the closing speed of each target, and triggering the firing sequence without waiting for human confirmation at the trigger level. The gun crew loads. The system fires. 6 more boats are destroyed in 4 minutes of sustained fire. 4 remain. They are inside 1 mile and still closing. They're going to try to ram. The CIWS takes them. The Phalanx close-in weapon system. The last wall is a 20mm Gatling cannon firing 4,500 rounds per minute, slave to its own radar, operating in fully automatic mode with no human in the decision loop. At 1 mile, a fast attack boat closing at 40 knots has approximately 90 seconds before it reaches the hull. The CIWS does not need 90 seconds. It needs 4. All 4 remaining boats are destroyed before any of them reach 500 yards. The Strait is clear at 3:26 a.m., 22 minutes after first contact. The 11 commercial vessels currently transiting never stopped moving. The engagement on the surface is over. The engagement below is just beginning. While the Gravely was handling the fast attack boats and the Super Hornets were eliminating the Highland launchers, a Virginia-class fast attack submarine has been executing the second phase of the U.S. response. The phase the Houthis will not find out about until morning, when their inland missile storage facility stops responding to radio calls. The Virginia-class submarine is the most capable attack submarine the United States Navy operates. It is nuclear-powered, meaning it has no need to surface or snorkel during an operation. It is coated in anechoic tiles, sound-absorbing material that makes it effectively invisible to passive sonar. It carries the BGM-109 Tomahawk cruise missile in its vertical launch tubes, a weapon with a range of over 1,000 miles and a GPS-guided warhead accurate to within meters of a designated target. The submarine received its targeting package at 2:55 a.m., 9 minutes before the Houthi operation began on the surface. The targets were not the fast attack boats. Those were always going to be handled by the Gravely and the Seahawk. The submarine's targets were the 4 inland missile storage facilities, the 2 command and control nodes coordinating the Houthi operation, and the mobile radar installation that was providing targeting data to the Highland launchers before the Super Hornets removed them from the equation. 7 targets, 7 Tomahawks, launched from below the surface of the Gulf of Aden without surfacing, without being detected, and without the Houthi command structure having any warning that the strikes were coming until the first warhead impacted at 3:31 a.m. The Tomahawk does not announce itself. It flies at low altitude, below radar coverage, following terrain features at 500 miles per hour. It has no pilot to lose. It has no aircraft to shoot down. It is a guided weapon that left its launch tube, flew a pre-programmed route across 200 miles of Yemeni airspace, and arrived at its designated target with the indifference of a machine that has no awareness of what it is destroying. By 3:34 a.m., the Houthi operation's entire support infrastructure is gone. The boats are gone. The launchers are gone. The storage facilities are gone. The command nodes are gone. The Strait is open. It never closed. 31 minutes after first contact, the Red Sea is quiet. The after-action count is brutally one-sided. 14 fast attack boats destroyed. 3 mobile missile launchers eliminated. 7 inland facilities neutralized. 0 commercial vessels damaged. 0 U.S. casualties. What the U.S. Navy spent to achieve that result? A precisely calculated package of Hellfire missiles, 5-inch rounds, CIWS ammunition, AGM-154 glide weapons, and 7 Tomahawks. Every expenditure was accounted for in the pre-mission planning. The Gravely's magazine is not empty. The Eisenhower's air wing is fully operational. The submarine is already reloading. What the Houthis spent the entirety of 3 months of positioning, pre-planning, and asset movement. Mobile launchers that took weeks to transport and position. Fast attack boats that cannot be replaced in days. Command infrastructure that took years to build. And the element of surprise, which they believed they had, and which they lost at 1:47 a.m. when a Hawkeye logged their launchers leaving their staging area. But here is the number that keeps the surface warfare community awake at night, even after a result this clean. The 18 miles of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait will still be there tomorrow night, and the night after, and every night for as long as the Houthis decide that closing it serves their strategic purpose. The fast attack boats cost almost nothing to replace relative to the Hellfire missiles fired to destroy them. The mobile launchers can be repositioned from new locations. The inland facilities can be rebuilt or relocated. A sustained campaign to keep the strait open, not one night, but every night, creates a resource pressure that no single engagement victory resolves. It is the same cost asymmetry mathematics from every engagement in this conflict, playing out on the most strategically important waterway in the world. The Navy held the line tonight because of its preparation, its technology, and a crew that never once reacted. It only executed. The Bab el-Mandeb is open this morning. 11 commercial vessels transited without incident. The global economy did not notice what almost happened at 3:04 a.m. That invisibility is the point. The U.S. Navy's job in the Strait is not to win battles. It is to make battles unnecessary, to position its assets so completely, so visibly, and so capably that the cost of attempting to close the Strait always exceeds whatever the Houthis believe they will gain by trying. Tonight, that calculation held. But the strategic question this engagement raises is not about one night. It is about the mathematics of indefinite presence. Keeping a carrier strike group parked outside the Bab el-Mandeb cost the United States Navy approximately $1 million per day in operational expenses. 11 days at that cost before tonight's engagement. And tonight's engagement did not end the threat. It reset it. The Houthis do not need to win. They need to keep trying. Every attempt forces the Navy to respond. Every response costs money, munitions, and operational tempo that compounds across a sustained campaign. The Virginia-class submarine that fired 7 Tomahawks tonight carries a finite number of them. The supply chain that replaces those Tomahawks stretches from manufacturing facilities in the United States to a submarine that cannot easily surface to rearm in a contested environment. The Navy knows this arithmetic better than anyone. The investment in longer-range strike capacity, in directed energy for cost-effective close-range defense, and autonomous systems that can maintain presence without putting sailors at continuous risk. All of it is a response to the cost problem that the Houthis, with Iranian guidance, have identified and are exploiting with the patience of a force that has nothing to lose and all the time in the world. Tonight, the Strait stayed open. Tomorrow night, the Houthis will still be there. And somewhere in the darkness off the Yemeni coast, the Gravely's radar is already listening.